Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is currently 7:05 p.m. It's already dark outside. The wind is howling. It's like super, super windy today in Indianapolis, but it's 70 degrees and it's beautiful outside. So I'm okay with the wind, and they can even bring some rain in on all day. The gods up there, the weather gods, can even bring in some rain. I would be totally fine with that. I'm just really happy that it's warmer weather. So let's get into reading today's meditations. I brought the two Melody Beatty books, and I also brought A Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel. I think I'm going to start with that one. I just cleaned off my glasses. They are so clean. I can see through them perfectly. It is March 10th. Let's see what the meditation has to say to us today. March 10th, loneliness. Although the world is beautiful and vast, it can also sometimes be bitter. And in those moments, we can experience great loneliness within. Know that you are never alone when feeling lonely. Give yourself permission to nourish community, seek out friendships, and joyously cultivate love. Don't be afraid to speak to strangers. They may become friends. Let diversity and curiosity overcome fear. We are more alike than we are different. Stand in love instead of indifference, and become a beacon of kindness for others who are experiencing their own loneliness. I think it's a great meditation, and loneliness is something that my mother really, really suffered from a lot in her life. But I myself have also felt periods of loneliness. I had somebody say this to me years ago, and it was a statement that when they said it, it so rang true to how I feel in life. And she said to me, I can feel more alone in a room full of people than if I'm by myself. And that is the absolute truth for me. I sometimes, when I am around a lot of other people, is when I feel very alone. That I feel that I don't fit in, or I'm different than people, or the conversation is a conversation that I don't enjoy, or I don't know how to enter. And I've talked a lot about social anxiety. It'll be a conversation that I'm like, well, I don't know what they're talking about, or I don't really have any interest in what they're talking about. And so I just kind of stand there and nod, and, like if it's like at a dinner party or something, I'm always by the treat tray eating the cheese and stuff like that. But that's where I feel comfortable, And usually through the years, and going to dinner parties or even just going out or whatever, I end up finding one person like myself, because my husband is very social and he's always just this person or that person. I mean, that's who he is naturally. I'm not that. And I actually saw this thing the other day, I talked about it on here, that said something like intuitively or genetically introverted, selectively extroverted, and that is so who I am. I can go out and be like, hey, how are you, and all that kind of stuff, but inside I'm just frightened, which I think has left me to feel lonely a lot in life, because I haven't in the past. I do today reach out to people and say, hey, do you want to do something? Or do you want to do this? Or do you do that? And I think a lot of it stems from when I was younger, and I was an only child. And so I can remember coming home from school and calling people and being like, hey, do you want to go do something? Or, and friends of mine that if I did have them, would say, no, I have to stay home today. Or often I would call and, I would say, is so-and-so home? See if they wanted to go and hang out and do something. And their moms would say, no, they already left. They went out with so-and-so or something. And I was always left out. And I felt very left out when I was younger. And I'm talking about first, second grade there. The older it got, the worse that it got, because I was excluded from a lot. On my street, I felt very much included on my street, because we all went to different schools, and people were very kind to me on my streets. My neighbors, the kids on my street, they were all just super, super friendly. I mean, there was one or two incidences that were really bad. One I remember when we all got in trouble, and because I was the one that brought my mom's beer, they all blamed it on me. I brought my mom's beer and cigarettes, and that was one isolated incident. But other than that, never did I get made fun of by the neighbor kids for being gay and stuff like that. I always just felt very included. And in fact, I had two girlfriends on the street, and we kind of ran the street a little bit. We would walk down the street and be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, your flowers look pretty today. And they'd be like, what are you guys doing? Oh, Mrs. Jones, you don't know, the pool got closed this week, so we can't go to the pool, and, the boys have taken over the street, we can't roller skate, or, it was always just we ran that street, and we had so much fun. But as I got older, I realized that this is probably why I only have a few friends today. I like to think of myself as a really trusting person, and I am a really trusting person. But and even when like I get hurt by somebody, I continue to trust them and hope for. I think it's because I hope for the best that they'll change, or be different, or treat me different, or treat others different. And I don't ever want to become so closed off from the world, because I saw that with my mom. I saw where, I would say, well, what are you doing this weekend? And she'd say, I'm not doing anything. And I'd say, well, why not? I'd say, why don't you call so-and-so? And she'd say, well, I mean, they're married, they have their own things to go on, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And when I went to my mom's funeral, I gave a eulogy. And when I stood up, I looked at the church, and there was 2 floors to the church, and it was standing room only in the back and upstairs. And I started crying, and I said, my mother never knew how loved she was. And she didn't. She had no clue, right? She never really realized how much people cared about her and loved her. And had she picked up the phone, it was like the other night I was like just wanting to hang out with somebody. I didn't have anybody to hang out with. And so I called my sponsor, and she was like, well, you could have just come over here and hung out with me. I was just doing a project at home and stuff, We have to reach out to people. We have to be the one to put our hand out first, because we don't know that the other person isn't just as scared or lonely as we are. And so it's a way for us to make new friends, And that just because you meet somebody or introduce yourself doesn't mean you have to be lifelong friends with that person. You know what I mean? But I think there's answers to loneliness. I will say the other thing is, I didn't really realize until I got on YouTube what my friendship with Tanya, my best friend, like how rare that was. Like, I thought everybody had had best friends, for 20 plus years of their life, their whole life, because a lot of people that I know, they'll be like, oh, my friends, like my sponsor, she has a best friend that she's known. They were like, their moms were friends. They were like born together. They've known each other for like their entire lives, And then like a lot of my friends, like Alex's best friend, he, met in high school when she moved here from somewhere else, and she's still his best friend today, and they're in their, mid-30s, and so they've been friends for 20 plus years together, and a lot of my friends, it's like they have friends from junior high and high school, so I just kind of thought it was this thing, and then that most people had, and then I started getting comments from people on my videos, and they would say like, I wish that I had what you and Tanya had, like I've never had a friend like that in my life, or people would say, I have no friends. And I would get that comment, and I would get emails from people that would say, thank you for your videos, because you're the only person that I feel like I talk to in a day, because I come home from work and I talk to people at work, but I have no friends at home. I have nobody that I talk to. And, I kind of thought about like my dad and stuff, and my dad has had, like, I would say in his lifetime, since I can remember, 2 really, really close friends. And one of them was his fraternity brother, that they had been friends since they were in college together, and he passed away, God, I don't even know how long ago now, like 10 plus years. And I tried to figure it out the other day. Well, it's since Alex and I were together, but it was like right around the time that we got together, so 10 to 12 years ago, I think. And then his other friend, it's like, as time went on, they would go to lunch every once in a while and whatever, and go out to dinner, and his wife and my stepmother were friends for a while, and I think that kind of like faded out as people got older, and they started like traveling more as they retired and stuff like that. And so it's like, my dad doesn't have tons of friends today. He seems completely fine with that, but my dad is somebody that loves being alone with like the dog, like, watching birds out on the back. He loves that. He always has loved being by himself. And I love being by myself too, and I've learned to love to be by myself. But there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. There's a huge, huge difference. Like, I love my alone time, and it's just like, and I respect it in other people as well. Like I'll call and ask Tanya, you want to get a fountain pop? And she'll say, no, like Eric went out and did something with so-and-so, and I'm just at home, and that's her husband, and I just want to sit here and like read tonight, because I get, by myself at home and whatever. And I respect that, Or Alex will come home and I'll say, what are you going to do? And he'll be like, I just want to lay in bed and not talk to a soul and just play my game, because he plays this township game, and just play my game and not have to interact with anybody. And so I respect that, that period of wanting to be alone. But there's a difference. I think when you're alone, it's like you're physically alone. I think unless you feel like alone in this world, and there was a period a couple years ago when I started vlogging where I was talking a lot about like who knows my past now, because my mom's gone, my aunt's gone, my uncle's gone. I don't feel that way as much anymore, because I've told so many people about my past. And so now Tanya and Alex and my in-laws and things, and my cousin Caroline, they're just such a part of my past and my present together. So I don't feel like that as much anymore. But I have felt, even in the last couple of years, lonely. Like, I just didn't feel like I had a lot of people. And I had to start reaching out. And, you know, honestly, like, this is going to sound crazy, but last year, almost a year ago at this time, you know, when people were getting isolated at home and we were, you know, put on lockdown and we couldn't leave anywhere, I had read some article about having a support group of people. And so I made like a support group of like 5 of my friends, and that I call, like my cousin was in that as well, and Tanya, and people that I would call every single day and talk to for anywhere from 5 minutes to a half an hour or an hour, you know? And every day I called and checked in on the same 5 people. And told them, I said, like, you're part of my support group, so you know. And then there were, like, probably 3 or 4 other people that I called, like, every other day, every third day. My dad does not love talking on the phone, so he was, like, an every third day kind of person, you know, my stepmom and stuff. But just to check in and let people know that I cared about them and that they mattered. And on my vlog every day, I always say, most importantly, reach out and let somebody know how much they mean to you. Because there are people out there that have no clue how much they mean to us, you know? And just to pick up the phone and just say to somebody, hey, I was thinking of you today, you know? Or like, hey, you want to get together for lunch? Or like, hey, I miss you, or whatever. Like, it's really, really powerful. The power to see somebody, the power to allow somebody to be seen, okay? And to realize I'm important enough to somebody else that they reached out and they called me. Doesn't that make you feel good? When somebody sees me, like when I go to my meeting on Tuesday night and somebody that I haven't seen in a while comes up and they go, Peter, it's so good to see you. I've been missing you. I've been thinking about you. It makes me feel good. You know what I mean? To be seen, for people to want me in their lives. But we sometimes have to be the one to be willing to do the work. We sometimes have to be the one to put our hand out first and to introduce ourselves and develop that friendship, you know? There's been like, you know, a lot of people like that I've reached out to, and I thought we were going to end up being the greatest friends in the whole entire world, and that's not how it turned out. And there's other people that I probably thought we had nothing in common with that have become some of the greatest friends in my entire life, and I'm glad that I gave that opportunity to see where that friendship went, you know? But if you're out there and you feel lonely and you feel like I'm all alone, I don't have really any friends or anybody to talk to, you know, ask somebody that you work with, you know, reach out to somebody that you used to be friends with and say, hey, what's going on, you know, or a neighbor, or just start talking to somebody, you know. I was at the post office today and this woman, she just out of the blue started talking to me and she's like, tell me what she does. And she goes, well, what do you do? And I go, I make YouTube videos. And she's like, do you have a business card? Because I want to watch them. And I said, no, I don't. And she said, okay. She goes, here's my business card. Now you're going to text me and I want to know it. She was so nice. And I was like, I love that. I always meet people at the post office, you know, my Jane and Vivian stories on my drama channel. But I was like, we need more people like this, you know. We need more people that are super, super friendly like this. So, I don't know. Maybe I can be that for others as well. And maybe you can too. Anyway, let me know what you think about all that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.